Okay, today we're going to work on replacing some touchscreen panels on the CF30 and the CF31. They're about the same kind of touch panels, so touchscreen panels, so it's going to be about the same process. So I have both units here. I can show both at the same time. This is the tools that we're going to be needing. We're going to be using a hair dryer to remove the little glue from around the touch screen, and of course a knife and some screwdrivers here. And I forgot to grab my tape, so maybe I'll do a quick stop here and I'll be right back. I have to go get my tape. And I had to leave my live video because I forgot some tools. And I got the tape. Move, Bob, move. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. I forgot to get the tape that we're going to be needing here. And I have a CF30 and a CF31. What we're going to do is just remove all the screws from the bezel from the outside. I already have this off. This one here still have a few screws, so we can get this process to don't be such a lengthy one like last time. So just going to remove all the screws. This one here I already took the hinges. And on the CF31 you have to remove these, so remove both screws, left and right. And once you get around, okay, all right. Okay, here we go. This is the 31, and as usual you have to remove the keyboard holder, the hinges, and then this cover will come right out. Just be careful not to stress. And this is your connectors. You have your touch screens connected right here to the touch screen board, and this is your screen. So we're going to have to disconnect it, the touch screen board, because we're going to remove this entire panel. So you take this screw off. Man. Okay, get this one, and then the next one here. And this is a CF31, is a MK3, but they have the same touchscreen assembly. At least the ones that I have in stock, I have the CF31A, CF31Qs, and CF31S. They all have the same screen connectors and the same touchscreen board. So basically, I'm going to remove the touchscreen board. Okay. And just lift this up. Just be careful you don't rip anything up. This go. And then very careful, lift the screen up. Sometimes it's a little tight, so just, and this is just the rubber around the screen. So we're going to put that there and disconnect the touch screen panel from the touch screen board. Now we have this panel. As you see, the CF31 panel. Just the connection is there. I'm going to put this to the side and show the CF30 panel how it's connected. It's about the same process that we did. I remove all the screws and just remove that. Left one screw here. Okay, and I remove all the screws from the top. Just need to lift this up. Just be careful when you lift it up. There we go. And then you have to also take it, these two screws. So you'll be able to fix both models. Once you remove this, the steps are the same on the panel. So we just want to remove the front bezel too. Oh man, I'll make it easy. Then we're going to unplug. This is your touch screen board on the CF-30. So you gotta unplug this one and don't have to disconnect that. Then we're going to take the backlight. As you see, that is a little more connections than just the CF-30, but we're going to remove the inverter board and the screen. Just lift it up so we can take the front panel off. Same thing, lift the screen, very gentle. There. And there is some little bumpers. There's your screen, and this is the panel that I'll be working with. So that's how you remove both panels from the CF-31 and the CF-30. So now that we have this, let me put this one on the side here, and I'll show you guys how to work on removing the panel. I have some here that I already had a little head start. So here is where you're going to get the hair dryer. This is the same panel. You're going to get the hair dryer. Very careful to don't overheat. And just going to work to just get it hot. Like we did with the CF-19, we do the same process. And just very careful. You want to get the knife and go around to remove the glue. I already started on this side. Just need to do this side. Be careful not to lean here, but if you have a bad screen, you're going to be removing this anyways. But if you're just replacing it, recycling an old screen, be careful so you don't break this one. And continue to heat. It's a slow process, but you don't want to end up breaking the screen panel. So here you go. I think I remove all the glue. The gentle press. You want to remove some more glue here. And more heat. I like to get all the sides first, then do the bottom part. Seems like there is less glue on the bottom end. So, okay. Just can press a little hard, but not too much, because otherwise the screen will crack. And I show you what happens when the screen's cracked. There you go. Okay, you remove your bad panel. Okay, you can recycle, just put this with your recycling. And you end up with a panel looking like this. So what you want to do, you just want to, I know it's a slow process, but you want to clean this up. Clean this around. And I found out that a knife and some heat will get this all out. I use this knife a little more better than the other one. And it's a slow process, but you want to make sure that this is clean before you put the new tape. Okay, you just scrape the entire thing around. And I have one here that I already have clean all around. See? It's nice and clean. And this is for the CF-30. So, and here's the panel. This is the panel that I'm going to put in there for the CF-30. This goes on the inside. So, like that. To your left side, I'm going to put that in here. And make sure that that is nice and centered. Just make sure that it's nice and centered and you can get your tape. This is from 3M. We used this before. You just want to make sure they put that all around. If it's too wide, you can always trim with a piece of some scissors and just trim to fit on the space here. And just make sure you press this down. And you're going to do all the way around with the touch screen. This was on the CF-30. And this is the CF-31. Basically, you're going to do the same process. Remove the screen, and this is what happens when it's not, when it don't heat up well, and you try to just pull it out, you end up breaking. But this was my bad one anyway, so it's not a big deal because I can just, you know, put the good one here, and you do the same process as you did with the 31, the 30. The CF-19, all my Toughbooks, the CF-53, all of them are the same process to replace. Just make sure you clean up before you put the panel. So this was the 31, this was the 30. I'm sorry if it's a little confusing, but I just want to show it's basically the same, just the connections will be different. You know, this one, the touch panel is on the bottom. This, the touch panel, is on the left-hand side. So we're going to work with this one. We're just going to put the tape all the way around, and I run out of tape, but you get just put all the way around, and you're going to remove here. There you go. Going to remove that. And I get the wrong tape, but you're going to do all on the sides. And make sure that this is on the left hand side, because if you put it like that, it's not going to work because the touch is going to be on this end and you have nothing to connect there. Center between the tapes. Make sure that's nice and centered. Then just slightly press down all the way around. Then you go ahead to clean all your fingerprints from this side and this side, and you want to have nice and tight there. I always check to make sure that it's nice and even on all ends. Press around the tape. Then we're going to install this back. Same process that we did when we remove. This was a 30, so we just get our CF-30 back in here. And we put the new panel with the touch screen. Just leave that. We have our screen here. Be very careful with all these electronics that you have here. You don't need to break. Here's our screen. Nice, firm. Just put everything there. I always like to connect to the hinges here. It makes it easy later. There we go. So it's nice and settled there. And reconnected everything. Maybe with a little thing lift. If you want, you can disconnect it all that. Here you go. Then it's just the reverse process. You're going to connect your touch screen. This is a little tricky because it's just like press on. Sometimes it's easy if you can get from the bottom here. There you go. If you don't connect this properly, your touch screen's not gonna work, because this is your touch screen board. And set your backlight back in place here. Settle this up. Put in there. Remember, we removed the 2 screws from the side. Put your screws back in. They go on the outside of the hinges, like the furthest one, next to the sides here, because this one, they'll be on the outside of the lid to load the lid there, hold the lid. So just want you to do that. And we had the 2 little bumpers that goes on each side of the bottom of the screen. We have 2 little bumpers that goes here to look like a little house. Okay, and we had removed the backlight, so we should have 2 screws for the backlight here. Just make sure that everything is connected properly. If you forget to connect, your screen's not going to work, or your touch panel is not going to work. Something will not work right. Before I put all the assembly back to you, don't forget, sometimes your lid latch comes off, so just remember to put that back in. Oh, sorry, that was from the 31. Okay, put it back in. And before I close everything, I always like to double check that my touch panel is working. So you can just turn your computer on. And you want to make sure that you clean all your fingerprints from the inside and outside of your panel, so you won't be there with a nice soft cloth. Just waiting here to test, make sure our panel is working. Cleaning cloth. Need a nice, make sure that it's nice and clean, and it can go do calibration. But basically, I just start touching. Sometimes it's not calibrated, so you may have to go to the calibration, just calibrate the touch. But as you see, my touch panel is working now. I don't know if you can see that well, but it is working, so we can just go ahead and turn this. This was the CF-30, and just use a nice soft cloth to clean up all the fingerprints, so you can see if it was on the inside. If it's on the inside, just remove the screen and clean up that panel, because sometimes just by the touch and the pressing. Once everything is done, just remember to put all the screws back in your computer, your hinges, and just turn it to be complete. And don't forget to put all the screws back in. Now let me show how to reconnect the CF. This was the CF-30. Let me show you how to do on the CF-31. And here's my CF-31. Remember, we replaced this. The mine was all busted. Again, with a nice tape all around. Make sure that you stick all there. So remember, this was the result that I had, busted. So you just put the tape all around, and make sure that this is on the bottom. I didn't have one separate because we don't have many parts for this, and I tried buying a panel, but I couldn't get one, so I didn't have good one. This is just for my parts, but clean it up really good. Put your screen back in there. Once you have your panel, make sure it's nice and clean. on the inside and out. Because you don't want to end up with fingerprints on the inside and you have to remove the entire screen again and fix it up. So here we go. Your panel is nice and secure with the tape. Again, I got that from 3M. I believe Staples had some of them. And sometimes you have to cut them to size. They're too wide. And make sure that there is no, this one got a little bit of dirt on my screen. So I want to make sure that I clean all that before I put it back. And remember, we have 2 screws. Again, goes on the outside of the panel here. I have that one there. You don't want to stress this too much because we have all the other parts of the screen there. So I always like doing this process first. Makes it a little easier if the screen is not all the way down for it to work with. So there, careful, place the screen back on top. Make sure that this is nice in here in the bottom. There's our touch screen board. Go to this. And just be careful when you put in here because it fits really snugly around here and you don't want to break the screen. If you press too hard, it may end up breaking your screen and you have to replace the screen, and that's a totally different video. So here the same process. I don't want my big head to get in front, but it's just make sure that the connectors is on the bottom there. See, like the little golden connection. Here's a little tape, and we'll connect here. Same way, be careful when you connect it so not to break the ribbon, because if you break the ribbon, you have to replace the entire touch screen panel again. And I believe, so put that down, and just repeat the process of putting the touch screen board back in. We had 2 screws removed, one on this side and there you go. I'm really good in keeping tabs of my screws, but you don't forget to do that in your home. If I drop one here, I have lots of them around. Make sure that everything gets connected right here. And this is down. Again, be careful when you put in your screen back. You don't want to end up breaking your screen. Don't ever push in the middle. I always push on the sides of the screen. Again, I like to test before I close everything, so gently lift this up. I like to make sure that the screen is nice and centered. And let's turn this bad boy on. Of course, I forgot my adapter, but the good thing is I can borrow the battery from the CF-30 that'll fit on my CF-31. And the CF-30 battery will fit on the 31, but the CF-31 battery will not work on the CF-30. So they have some weird connectors at the end. Okay. Just waiting to get our operating system going on here. This one is loaded with Windows 7 Pro. And as you see, my touch screen panel is working. And I check I don't have any marks on the screen, so we can just turn this one off. It doesn't need to calibrate, but if you need to calibrate, just go to your calibration. It's under your control panel, and you can calibrate that way. Just loading some drivers here, so installing the drivers. There we we can shut this down. Come on. Okay, shut now. We can shut that in there. Now we can just reverse the process and putting everything back together. Don't forget your lid latch. Remember I told you sometimes they snap out. You don't want you to end up putting the entire computer back together and it's like, where's my lid latch? And then we put that back in here. And then you can just, this part, and when you're there, you can just clean it up. As you see, this one, it's a little dirty, so you can just clean it up. Be careful, this snaps right in here. This other one never fell out. Then you have, this one have right and left, so make sure that you put them in the right, they don't go the wrong way because they only fit one way in each side. So see, that's the wrong way, so this one goes on this side. Nope. Goes in here. I know this fit because I removed from this one. Okay. It's not cooperating with me. Okay. Like I said, they only fit on one way, so okay. There we go. I was trying to fit the wrong way. There we go. Screw goes on this way. On the outside. There we go. See? They only fit one way. So you just put your screws in here, 2 screws in here, finish connecting all this, and you'll have a working touchscreen panel. If you need more information, you can send me an email, tech_support@bobjohnson.com, or you can just send it in a message with Austin. He's always out there to answer every single one of your questions. Please go there and like us on, if you're watching this and you like, just press the like button. If you don't like, as I always say, give us another chance. We'll get better as we go. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, you can always email or call us. We're here to answer you. Thank you. I was not prepared for this at all today, man. I hope that we got some good